Hey there guys, welcome to Anthony Reviews. We're Anthony Reviews, and we've got another collection video for you guys. We are going to be taking a look at all of my Marvel Legends Spider-Man and Spider-Man adjacent characters, figures, you name it. So we're looking at the Peter Parkers, we're looking at the other spider-powered people. We'll be looking at some symbiotes. I'm not a completionist, but I got a few, so let's just go ahead and let's look at some Spider-Man. We're starting off with the classic. We're looking at the Pizza Spider-Man. This is probably the first in the sort of new era of Marvel Legends. This was released in 2014, 15? It was released a while ago, several years at this point. He's got a pretty slender body. He came with a lot of hands, an unmasked, well, half unmasked head, and of course, the slice of pizza, which I've got some sticky tack to make sure that he doesn't drop it, which is fitting for Spider-Man. He's got sticky hands, and I like this. He's very joyful. He's like, hey, pizza anybody? It's a very simple body. As you can see with a lot of these figures, you're going to see some warping in the legs. That just seems to what happens with the softer plastic of Marvel Legends sometimes, especially these thinner bodies. They tend to bend and stretch and all that stuff. But Pizza Spidey, he's a classic. He's going to go front and center. This will be fun, trying to make sure everybody's posed appropriately. I haven't even tried this out yet. This is probably going to go disastrously, let's say. Once again, in no particular order, we have the retro-carded Spider-Man. They started doing these sort of retro-carded 90s inspired Spider-Man figures, sort of inspired by the cartoon, also inspired by the toy line of the 90s. And so we had this very cool Spider-Man. He's a lot beefier than the more slender Pizza Spider-Man back there. He definitely has smaller eyes. This is more so what I think of Spider-Man because of the stuff like the 90s cartoon. He's got some super defined like thighs and everything. So, to each his own. There's a lot of different versions of Spider-Man. There's younger Spider-Man, there's Ultimate Spider-Man. We'll get into it. So, this beefier Spider-Man may not be for everybody, but fans of the 90s cartoon are definitely going to enjoy this styling of Spider-Man. Let's look at 2099 here. Miguel O'Hara, this is our first figure that we're looking at that isn't a Peter Parker, of course. This guy is from the future. He has a very, very different sort of look of Spider-Man with this metallic blue. Part of me wonders if we'll ever get the sort of black suit. In the comics, it's one of those technical sort of things where he's a black suit with blue highlights, but that's always been interpreted as a blue suit. Even in the new film, the new Spider-Verse film, we got a very beefy Miguel O'Hara coming there. He's blue, which is cool. I mean, the blue is striking. It's kind of an inverted, mainly red with the blue there. We've got the mainly blue here. I love the eyes. I love the sort of skull motif. He has a web cape. He's got claws. He's just, I don't know, a lot of interesting things. This is also reusing that Pizza Spider-Man, so a lot of very thin build. We're probably needed for a new 2099, I would argue. Something to update the character. We've got another take on the sort of Spider-Man look. This is the 90s, I guess you call it sensational Spider-Man. This is, of course, during the Clone Saga. We've got this spider that sort of goes across the chest. We've got a lot of blue here. We have the more obvious web shooters. An attempt to give Spider-Man a new look, a new updated feel. And I like this design. It's very 90s, I would say. The head is actually a different head. This came off of a figure we'll see later, which was part of a box set. But I felt like the eyes just felt more of the time period. This came with a different head with smaller eyes, and I think that head looks good. But when I think of sort of 90s Spider-Man, I think of these big, huge, McFarlane-esque eyes. So I put that head on there, and I think it looks good. Like, I don't think you can tell that this is supposed to come with a different figure, honestly. I think it's appropriate. And he's another beefier Spider-Man, but, that's just going to happen. Another Peter Parker, but not the Peter Parker This is Spider-Man Noir, much more of a cool leather sort of motif here. Sans trench coat. He normally comes with a long flowing trench coat, but I've got that on another figure. And my first sort of introduction to the character was through the video game Shattered Dimensions. So this is just sort of how I see Spider-Man Noir in my head. And of course there's been other versions. There's the comics, there's the Nick Cage version from Spider-Verse. He does have these like sci-fi guns. It'd be better if he came with like, I don't know, cartoony guns. But I love the face mask with the detailing of the stitching on the head, and a good use of this body that we've seen on stuff like Star-Lord and other things. So I dig it. I think it works for this version of the character. I think it's a good one. Hey, look, it's Spider-Woman, or at least it's a Spider-Woman. This is the I guess sort of Scarlet Spider, sort of Spider-Woman combination from Ultimate Spider-Man. You know, a very simple, very symbiote-esque looking suit with the solid color, the big white spider. We've got like the fingers and everything. This is kind of an older figure, honestly. I think this came out around 2014, 2015. It's hard to keep track around that era because there was so much Spider-Man happening because of the movie, and Marvel Legends was sort of going through a rebirth period. And so this is one of those things where we have this long flowing female spider character, and I bought it because it was a spider character. That was kind of it. There's no other real reason for it. We've got another Scarlet Spider here, this being the classic sort of Ben Reilly costume that you would imagine, a one color sort of red suit with a blue hoodie over it. You know, could you get more 90s than this, honestly? And once again, this is where I was talking about like the big eyes. I sort of picture that for Ben Reilly. The colors here, this is actually the retro carded. They released this figure previously in a normal Spider-Man wave. He's a bit more of a standard red like you'd see on some of those other Spider-Man. This one has much more of a shiny kind of scarlety color, and so that's why I prefer this one. It just feels a bit more premium, if you will. He's got nice little buckles and little pouches. For what reason? I don't know. Like, he clearly has like web cartridges and stuff on his belt. So like, what's he pulling out of here? Just like a candy bar? I don't know. But I like this guy. I think he looks cool. I sort of have the flip hand, and like, you know, I could have it like this, but something about having it like this just has it, I don't know, gives that extra attitude, I guess. I don't know. Peter Porker, Spider-Ham. This is the first time that they released Spider-Ham, so it's the comic book version. I believe it's a bit more reminiscent of like his current look at the time. It's hard to keep track of. You know, like, obviously he's very, very limited. You know, he's got some elbows, he's got some arm movement there. You know, he's got some wrist stuff, but like his legs are just nothing. Like, you've got some foot movement, but what is that going to accomplish, honestly? But he looks the part. He looks like Spider-Ham, you know? That's nice for him. We've got sort of a sculpted webbing as opposed to a painted webbing. What are your opinions on that? I'm much more of a painted guy, but obviously painted will give you much more room for error as opposed to a sculpted version. So I'm used to both, but, you know, painted is preferred. But this guy, you know, he works for what he is, I guess. Nothing to be too extremely excited or disappointed in, I would argue. Who knows? Now, of course, this is the Spider-Woman that most people are going to think of, the Jessica Drew version. We've got that red and yellow. You know, a character that doesn't have a whole lot to do with Spider-Man. You know, this was a character created to just be Spider-Woman. They needed a Spider-Woman. And so we've got these big sort of web wings, which I like. I mean, it's a classic suit. Like, it really is an iconic look for her. And I do like Jessica Drew quite a bit. Obviously, we're going to be getting her in Spider-Verse pretty soon. But, you know, this is a little bit of an older figure now. I know they're about to release a new one that's sort of like a Skrull-themed one because she played a big part in the Secret Invasion stuff. However, I think it's on the same body, so it's not too much of an upgrade. But you can kind of see it's not the cleanest of figures. But, you know, she's here. She's represented. She's excited, you know. She's kind of doing the Jeb Bush, you know, which is kind of now like the clean sweep meme, right? With like Morbius and stuff like that. So she's kind of doing that pose, which good for her. Oh boy. Here we have an Ultimate Spider-Man. This one, if it'll focus. You want to look at Spider-Man, sir? This one came in a 2-pack with the Ultimate Vulture. This one, I guess, is based on the cartoon because he doesn't have the red connecting down the arms there. It's purely blue, which is something that the Disney Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon did. But, you know, he's clearly on a younger body. He's got the big Mark Bagley eyes. Like, definitely what you'd imagine in terms of Ultimate Spider-Man. You know, that younger take on Peter Parker. And I've kind of got him doing this cool jumping down pose. I've got a stand that I'll put him on, but yeah, I don't know. He's sprawled out. He's cool. You know, he's Spider-Man. So you can imagine him jumping off a building and going into a swinging adventure. I like the blue. I like the red and blue on this figure. Not gonna lie, it's pretty good. Let's check out a symbiote here. We have one of the many Venom figures, this being the Mac Gargan Venom figure, sort of on an older body, as you can clearly tell by it being massive and detailed and all sorts of stuff. It's got kind of a blue finish going on here. They released a couple of Venoms, I think, on this one, and the problem is that like they released a Venom. As you can see, he's got like a hole here. You can put like a scorpion tail in because it's the scorpion. He's the scorpion, but he's Venom. Matt Gargan had the Venom symbiote at some point. You can tell it's him because of the eyes, which is the main reason I have this figure. When I think of this version of Venom, it's the red eyes. That's just how I see him. However, the symbol is wrong, and I think they released another Venom with a more traditional Eddie Brock looking head, but it had Matt Gargan's logo, which sort of like comes up over the shoulders and goes down, which is it's annoying. But I like to go for, if I can go for a Matt Gargan look, I'm going for the red eyes. That more so I think helps differentiate the versions as opposed to the logo. But I don't know, that's just my preference. But he's a big guy for you, so that's cool. He'll definitely stand out amongst the crowd here. Hey, check it out. It's another pretty standard Spider-Man here. Once again, using the Pizza Spider-Man mold. So this is the Raft Spider-Man. This came in a box set with a bunch of villains, all the Raft, you know, the big floating prison. I believe it was a Comic-Con exclusive. The head for this guy back here is the head that's supposed to be on this guy. But like I said, I swapped out the head. I found a different head that matches pretty well. Like, I don't think you can kind of tell that it's not supposed to be this version. But we've got some more muted colors, a more darker blue. I guess it was just to kind of give a different version of Spider-Man. So if you wanted a different version, but you wanted all the Spider-Man villains, well, not even Spider-Man villains, you wanted all the villains that came in this box set, you wouldn't feel like you were getting too screwed up. And if you missed out on Pizza Spider-Man, you could get this Spider-Man. You get what I mean. So it's just another Spider-Man, which is fine. You know, Spider-Man's going to look like Spider-Man. That's okay. We're going to bring in another lady with another Spider-Woman. This, of course, being the other iteration. I imagine her as part of, like, West Coast Avengers. I remember she was in the Iron Man cartoon from the 90s. Very different look, obviously going for the black suit, the very high boots and gloves, and the white spider on the chest. Pretty cool. I like the detailing and the hair and everything. It's a very simple yet effective design. You know, not a lot to say about it. I feel like she just came out like a couple of years ago, so a pretty cool version of Spider-Woman, if I do say so myself. We've got another clone here with Kane, another version of the Scarlet Spider. This is a version of Spider-Man that was kind of like evil and demented, but then he became a good guy. Another sort of version of the character that has different powers. Obviously, he has like a spike that he could stab you with, and like that's kind of neat, I guess. I like this outfit quite a bit, honestly. I think it's a pretty cool look for a Scarlet Spider. I remember reading his comic where he moved to Houston, I believe. So yeah, I think it's a cool Spider-Man. He doesn't get a whole lot of play nowadays, I would imagine, you know. But for a time there, they attempted to give this guy his own unique feel and character, and you know, I guess kind of make him like the bad boy of the Spider-Man, kind of the Red Hood of Spider-Man, if you will. And I don't know if it worked because he's not really around anymore, but they tried, and I think he looks cool. I dig him. You know what? If no one else likes him, I'll like him. Probably the most popular of the modern Spider-Man is going to be Miles Morales, of course. Spider-Man, he's got movies, he's got video games. He's insanely popular. Miles is a character that I didn't have a whole lot of attachment to before, like, the current days. You know, I didn't read any of the Ultimate Comics he was in. He wasn't, like, super popular in cartoons just yet. And, yeah, the movie made me a fan. It really did. I love the Into the Spider-Verse film. I'm super excited for the new one coming out. And so Miles being our sort of window character, sort of learning about the world with him and seeing him embark in his own origin story was super exciting. And he's got a cool costume. It's a lot of black on there. I think I prefer the Spider-Verse look, if I'm being honest, from the first film, but this look is really good. It's a clean look. There's a lot of ways you can go wrong with Spider-Man, and this is not one of them, I would say. He's on that younger body, similar to the Spider-Man that's up there, jumping down. So same body there, but it works. He's supposed to be the younger of the Spider-Man, so that's fine by me. Here we have the Armored Spider-Man. This guy was recently released as part of the retro carded sort of series. Very simple concept of an armored Spider-Man. You've got the sort of black detailing and then tons of silver plating, which works. The only attachment I have of this character is from the cartoon where he was like a jerk. You remember that the Spider-Verse sort of episode from the 90s cartoon? This guy was an asshole, so I like that about him. And I mean, if you're gonna chrome yourself out like this as Spider-Man, you're probably gonna be a jerk, but I think they did a good job. He's a bit modernized, he's a bit real world. It's not as clean and simple, or simple and clean, if you will, as the comic book counterpart, but it still gives off the feel of that armored Spider-Man, so I'm happy with that. We've got Mayday Spider-Girl, and as you can see, there's a bit of a big old paint issue here. This is how I got the figure. This figure's a few years old at this point. It's from that 2015 period, I want to say 2014 maybe, I don't know. Very similar designs as the other sort of Scarlet Spider-Man over there, the Ben Reilly Spider-Man. So, yeah, this is sort of an AU, alternate universe, daughter of Spider-Man, and she's cool. Like I said, she could use an update, and mine has forever had this, weird paint issue for her, so not ideal, but I like the character, so where's she at? Where's Mayday, huh? Spider-Man UK, a bulkier Spider-Man, to be sure. I believe this was introduced during the sort of Spider-Verse, the initial Spider-Verse storyline from, what was that, 2014? Bigger guy, so this figure probably came out around 2016 or so, I would say. It's a fine looking suit. It involves the Union Jack. I believe this character has some sort of connection to Captain Britain, or is Captain Britain. I don't remember. There's a whole lot of Spider-Man stuff to keep track of, but it's a pretty nice, simple costume, and it's cool to have a bigger Spider-Man. A lot of these Spider-Men are obviously going to be thinner, lankier guys, which is appropriate. So to have a little bit of a variety with this beefed up Spider-Man is kind of cool. Does anyone remember Agent Venom? I sure do. Agent Venom actually might be my favorite version of Venom. This is, of course, Flash Thompson, war vet given a second chance by bonding with the symbiote for only a certain period of time. This is cool. He's got a whole SWAT, one-man army kind of vibe to him. He's cool. I feel like they should do another crack at this character. However, it's been years since the character was relevant. I feel like he sort of took on the anti-Venom look at one point. I don't really care. I just think this is a really, really cool, really unique take on the Venom sort of character. And this body is outdated. We could really use an updated one. But I like all the detailing here, the kind of crab shell motif that he had, which is weird, but I like it. I dig it. Agent Venom, big old cool thing for me, I like it. Look, it's another Spider-Girl. She might be from the Ultimate Universe. I have no idea. I have no idea about anything about this character. It's on a younger sort of female body. It shares a lot of elements with, those two other Spider-Women over there. We obviously have the black suit and everything, so that's cool. But it's just a Spider-Girl, Spider-Woman, arachnid lady. Sure. We're sticking with the black suit trend, I guess, because here we have a very sprawled out symbiote Spider-Man. This was another retro carded release, very recent, very much taking inspiration from that very first sort of Secret Wars, the 80s sort of appearance of Spider-Man. Obviously other versions of the black suit since then have had very different eyes, they kind of changed up some details. This sort of bulkier body, the eye shape, everything feels very Secret Wars I adore it. There is another version of the black suit, which on the more like spindly body, which a lot of people prefer. But for me, the way I see this character, I like him to be a bit bulkier, and that's exactly what I get from this figure here. So one of my favorites, I think. This guy just looks really, really cool. He's so simple. We got the nice big spider logo there. You know, it's good. I dig that. All right, we've got PS4 Spider-Man. This is obviously based off of his video game appearance. When this was first shown off, at least the design-wise, I wasn't a huge fan. I didn't like the white on it. I didn't like the separated sort of blue bits. It reminded me of the sort of the MCU look. I don't know. It just felt like a lot. But the design has grown on me over the years, and now I quite enjoy it. Now, I know there's a newer version of this figure. As you can kind of see, this is very much just sort of slapped on an available Spider-Man. The head doesn't really invoke the PS4 feel like it kind of does, but I don't know, not exactly. This is clearly not designed to be PS4 Spider-Man. They did their best. And so there's a newer version of this figure out. I haven't gotten it yet, mainly just because it's a little too expensive for me right now in terms of a Spider-Man, a singular Spider-Man figure. So to each his own. This one is good enough for me. We've got Spider-Gwen. Spider-Gwen, another newer addition to the Spider-Man mythos, of course introduced during the Spider-Verse days back in 2014. And then she was featured in the movies with Into the Spider-Verse, and now the new one, Across the Spider-Verse. This is a character that I didn't have like a lot of attachment to before that. This is the Spider-Verse version, like the movie one. But she blends in enough with comic book figures, I would argue. So yeah, I wasn't a huge fan. I just felt like when they introduced her, it was during a time where like the Amazing Spider-Man movies were out, and so Gwen Stacy was in those, and they were like, well, how do we do Gwen Stacy tie-in stuff, but she's dead? And so they basically invented a whole new character, slapped Gwen Stacy's name on it, said it was alternate universe to kind of justify that, and now we have Spider-Gwen, or Ghost Spider, or Spider-Woman, or however you want to look at it. But I like this version. The movie really made me like the character. I had no attachment, and then the movie made me really like her. Maybe a controversial opinion, I don't know. Ballet slippers, definitely better than the high tops. That's just me. This is the sixth arm Spider-Man. As you can see, he has 6 arms, which I've got some different poses. He's got some flipping. He's got like a hand to sort of think. He's sort of picking out a wedgie. He's got ready to brawl. I think this uses stuff from like the Amazing Spider-Man 2 body. I don't know, just judging by like the hands and the sculpt and like the detailing, I'm pretty sure that's what this is. But a lot of people don't like this figure because it doesn't have an ab crunch, which is like, I get it. I don't really care. You know, this is just sort of to fill the sort of space of having a 6-armed mutated Spider-Man. That's about it. So I understand the pain, but I don't care. Hey, look, it's a Toy Biz Spider-Man. This has all been really Hasbro related, but now we have an old school sort of Toy Biz Spider-Man. I got this just because I felt like it had a very retro look to it. I wanted a nice classic Spider-Man before we had the huge assortment of Spider-Man we had today. You know, back then, I wanted a Spider-Man that really felt like a very thin, nimble Spider-Man, and as you can see, he's pretty loose. That's incredible. But he's got some weird articulation that you just don't see on modern Spider-Man anymore. So he's a weirdo, but that's okay. I like him because he's a weirdo. I could probably get rid of this guy, but I don't think I will, just because I like how weird he is. I think that's really it. House of M Spider-Man. Why do I have this? Like, this just really screams like, oh, we gotta get a Spider-Man out there. What have we not done? House of M. You know, a world where people can be epic. Yeah, like, he's like basically just a normal Spider-Man with like a weird logo on the chest. Like, I don't know. This is just, I don't even want to talk about this. Like, why do I have this? I don't know. I should probably get rid of this. Hey, it's Venom. Just regular Venom. Just Eddie Brock Venom. A big, muscular Spider-Man. This is how I imagine the guy. You know, Venom's had some monstrous forms over the years. He's had different hosts. but like this makes me think of classic sort of Venom as I imagine him. I think this is the 2018 release from the Venom wave. He's got like a little bit of a pearlescence to him, so he's not like a flat black, but honestly, he still works. Like, it's Venom. He looks like Venom. He works on a villain shelf as Venom. You know, there's certainly better Venoms out there. There's that one that comes in the 2-pack with the guy, whoever that is. I don't really know. He looks pretty good, but this guy, like, he works. It's Venom. I dig it. This is a weird Spider-Man. So this was a retro-carded Spider-Man. Before they did specifically retro-carded Spider-Man figures, they were just sort of like retro-carded, I believe like Toy Biz style sort of Marvel characters. And so you had this very basic, classic-looking Spider-Man. He's got like a weird logo, if you ask me. Kind of a weird classic logo. But I have enough Spider-Man. So I popped a blonde head on him as sort of a reference to the perfect Spider-Man of Spider-Verse. You know, Into the Spider-Verse, there was that Chris Pine Spider-Man that was absolutely perfect and dies early on. Would have been a perfect mentor for Miles. But, you know, because it's Spider-Man, he's a flawed sort of person. He gets killed off to set up Miles's tutelage under the Peter B. Parker character. So yeah, I just had an extra Spider-Man body essentially and popped a blonde head on it. It's kind of my reference to that version of Spider-Man, if you will. Let's look at some movie Spider-Man. We haven't looked at any of them yet. This is the Tobey Maguire super articulated Spider-Man. He's quite a loose boy, but you know, he's dancing, he's gyrating, he's doing all sorts of fun stuff. Very, very old figure, obviously. This is either from 2 or 3, if I had to guess. But, you know, it's a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. I would love an updated version, but the only one that is coming is in a 3-pack, and that 3-pack is like $90. So, and it doesn't come with a Tobey Maguire head or anything like that, so that's going to be a pass. So I guess I'm just going to stick with this version of Spider-Man. When's that pack even coming out? No Way Home came out like, what, was that 2021? Right? Not crazy, right? That came out late 2021, and it's 2023, and there's still no word on when that pack is coming out. Meanwhile, like this, I'll just have to live with this. This works. This is fine, you know. He's got magnets on his feet. Second movie Spider-Man I have is the Amazing Spider-Man. First Amazing Spider-Man. Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man. This was a Walmart exclusive, I believe. I just prefer this suit. It's more unique. It's more his own. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit is very accurate and probably one of the most accurate depictions of a live-action Spider-Man we've ever gotten. But to me, that was like extreme course correction. I like the style and the soul that this one has. I dig it. I dig everything about it. It just feels way more personalized. It feels unique. And when you're doing Spider-Man, I feel like that's important to have. So it still looks like Spider-Man. The gold eyes are a little weird, but, you know, it is what it is. This is a very limited Spider-Man, I will say. Certainly not as articulated as that Tobey figure back there, but it works. It looks like the Amazing Spider-Man. Last movie Spider-Man we have is the Homecoming sort of homemade suit. Very inspiration taken from the Scarlet Spider there. I like this suit. I don't have a huge attachment to a lot of the Tom Holland Spider suits. I don't know. They just don't work for me. Like the Civil War suit is fine. The one that he gets in what was that movie called? Far From Home is fine. Like I like the black. I think that adds some personality to it. And the gold on it and the armored suit and all that is stupid. So this one feels the most like true to the character, you know, like in terms of a young guy. He doesn't have all the backing of the world behind him. It's just him and him alone. I feel like this captures that idea a lot better than, say, you know, some of the other ones, the Stark inspired ones. So yeah, this is my favorite. It's my only Tom Holland Spider-Man, and I'm perfectly happy with that. And then to end it off, we've got Doppelganger. And here it is, folks. Here are all of my Marvel Legends Spider-Man and, well, his amazing friends. Well, those people aren't here. But here is all the Spider-Man adjacent and Peter Parker sort of characters that I have in my collection, a true Spider-Verse, if you will. You know, like I said at the beginning of this video, I'm not a completionist by any means. I have no intention to buy every single person that's ever had the Spider moniker attached to them. However, I do like Spider-Man. I like the Spider-Man costume. I like the colors. I really like a lot of the things about the character and the designs and all that stuff. So here it is. Here's what I have right now. I'll probably get more in the future. Who knows? But do you guys have a personal favorite Spider-Man? Is there a Spider-Man that you feel like I just need to add to my collection? Do I need that sort of retro cel-shaded one? Do I need the Amazing Friends one? Renew Your Vows? You know, there's a bunch of modern figures that I don't have on here. Do I really need them for my collection? I don't know. You tell me. But let me know you guys' general thoughts of the collection down in the comments below. Feel free to check out some of my other videos. I've got videos on Power Rangers, Transformers, you know, G.I. Joe, you name it. So feel free to check out some of those other videos there. Subscribe if you'd like to see more. Share the video if you want to let other people know that I talk about Spider-Man and I don't know what I'm talking about. That's fine. You can do that as well. But at the end of the day, thank you guys so much for watching. Take care.